Hello there, parts. Let's walk through a little bit of how to build Zelos for the Scourge raid target cycle, fighting the buildings and the Scourge. So using the cannons made available in Forsaken Mission recently, if you got them and you have the Zelos, it might be a good option. So Medusa, that's for you. Before you start, remember the Zelos is a Generalist hull. So it doesn't have all the high ballistic and radioactive resistances that the Cannoneer or the Ironclad do. So it's never going to be as good as a Cannoneer, especially because the Cannoneer has 50% ballistic range bonus out of the box and the Zelos has 45. So it still lets you drive at max range, but just barely. You really need a good connection and be a good driver if you want to use that and not have a ton of repairs. The advantage of the Zelos is once this raid cycle is over, you can actually just refit the weapons and some specials and maybe the armor and get it ready for the next one without having to build from scratch and rank another fleet all over again. The Zelos does have longer repair and build time compared to the Cannoneer, right? But again, you save in the long run if you plan on refitting that fleet over and over for each raid cycle. If you're going to build a Zelos for the raid, keep in mind having the new cannon and the new special released tailor-made for the Zelos in Forsaken Mission Tier 5 is pretty much a must-have. Otherwise, you can't get the resistances where you... Quick refresh, remember the enemy, the Scourge, they have no walls, no ships, just building, so building damage is important, wall damage not so much. They only deal 2 types of damage, ballistic, radioactive. There's no need for any sort of different resistances or deflections. Lots of splash and shockwave, so speed. You gotta keep moving. So you outrun the long range cannon turrets. You got non-stop, so the key to be successful is be fast. Avoid being displaced towards turrets. And outrange the turret with the Zelos. Otherwise, you will get stunned, you will get the radioactive shockwave. So drive at max range. Don't use this fleet if you have a very laggy connection. You're going to just die and repairs will be long. And drive non-stop. These are the main driving tips and techniques. So let's start with the very basic setup, okay? I don't care if you're building Zelos, Cannoneers, or Ironclads. These are the 3 specials you need. You need Speed System 5, because you need very good straight line combat speed, and you need good turning speed. You need turret resistance from Siege Battery right here, 50%. And you need extra building damage. The Zelos already start with 50% built-in building damage, so when you add Siege Battery another 70 something percent, you get to a total of 161. And then you need CL3, which buffs both radioactive and ballistic defenses. Some players prefer using LA3, just buff ballistics, and then they take care of radioactive just through armor. It is an option. I don't think it works as well, but it's quite good. It's maybe nearly as good as. And depending on how you drive on the Ironclad, I think it's actually better. But for the Zelos, CL3, best option, LA3, second best option, and then you gotta rebalance through armor, okay? I'll talk about armor at the end. There's no need for countermeasures in this raid, so we'll leave these 4 slots empty, shorten the build time, and leave room for weapons, whatever weapons you decide to use. The Quake Cannon. Like I said, this cannon is very, very important for this build to succeed. If you didn't get that from FM, you might want to reconsider building the Zelos for the raid. This cannon has 10 of splash. That's better than the Mauser cannon, better than Earthshaker or the Pack. Very, very good splash, meaning you aim at one turret, you get to kill all the turrets in that group of turrets without having to shoot at one by one. It has 1 second reload time. It's the fastest of all, and that's to compensate for the fact that the Zelos itself doesn't have any built-in reload bonuses, unlike some of the other hulls. And very good building damage in a single salvo. So each punch, it's 6,000 building damage every second with a splash of 10. Most importantly, each cannon will add 10% ballistic and radioactive defense, so when you add 10 of them, you move your Zelos from 69 to 89% ballistic and radioactive damage, and now they'll be capable of taking some fire without taking a ton of damage. So this cannon is very, very important. Specials are a different trick, right? There are many, and people look at all the different specials. So to simplify, there are 3 specials that will give you the extra range you need, and you have to use one of them. So Hardened Barrel 3 is the heaviest of all, is the oldest of all, but it's the one you have in the research lab if you don't have the better tech. So it's an option B, really. Nobody should be using that unless you don't have any of the other guys. Nuclear Accelerator. This is the one I recommend for the Zelos because it has the combat speed bonus, and it can take the Zelos to almost 70 straight line combat speed. The accuracy doesn't matter because these are buildings. Against buildings you always hit, there's no misses. The Cannon System 4 could work, but this is actually ideal for the Ironclad, right? As if you use Cannon System 4, you cannot use the seismic rounds. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. So the 2 recommended specials for the Zelos: Nuclear Accelerator for range and speed, and the seismic rounds that were tailor-made for the Zelos for this raid, because they add everything the Zelos does not have built in, like ballistic damage, ballistic reload, projectile speed, splash, and it's really lightweight. Right, so it's kind of a combination of high velocity rounds to an extent with some bonuses from Cannon System 4, right, and it works really well. The main reason I tell you not to use Cannon System 4 is this, right? When you use Cannon System 4, a lot of the other specials are disabled because you cannot combine them with Cannon System 4. So Nuclear Accelerator gives you a bunch of options. If you don't have seismic rounds, maybe high velocity rounds would be your second best option, or Siege Target 3, but this one won't give you splash. A third one that's not even here because it's not a cannon special is Combustion System 2. That one will give you some extra projectile speed and will give you splash, but no building damage or ballistic damage. So you gotta, probably if you don't have seismic rounds, go Siege Target or go Combustion System 2. To summarize, this is the ideal building. This Zelos actually does really well against tier 5 targets. It's really fast at 67, good turn speed. It has all the good buffs thanks to the 2 specials. So you have the range of 95, you have reload of 75, accuracy doesn't matter, you have ballistic damage of plus 75, speed, a lot of splash, decent building damage, plus a buff that's native to the Zelos, which is the siege DPS of 5600. You divide that by the 10 slots, you get 560 extra damage from each cannon per second, right? It has decent evade, 94% ballistic defense after I add the D2C armors, and 91% radioactive defense after I add the radioactive D5R armor. Remember, do not use radioactive plates. They are only for PvP. They will be bypassed in raid targets, so they are absolutely not effective. It has decent siege deflection of 700. So overall, that's a good combo, and will allow you to do raid really well. A plan B, if you don't have the components from FM, is here, but I really don't recommend that because of the very low radioactive and ballistic defense. So probably you'd be better off with Centurions. If you can build it like this, probably better off with Centurions because this guy is a lot of repair, okay, and a much longer build time. And you could try Earthshakers, you could try a different combination. The fact is none of these other cannons will give you much decent resistance. If you add the armor, it gets a little bit better, but still far below what you need to succeed. Okay, so I hope that helps. I already have a video about building ironclads. I'm going to be releasing one about cannoneers real soon. Okay, take care, pirates. And link to the other related videos are in the description of this one on YouTube. So make sure you check it out, hit like, subscribe, and have a good raid, everyone.